the increasingly real possibility, or perhaps hope, that Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi might one day restore the Iranian kingdom has left many Westerners confused. We've been taught since we can remember that monarchy is outdated and old-fashioned. And yet, as footage and memories of the Kingdom of Iran before 1979 circulate online, many are beginning to question those assumptions. Why did the Iranian people once seem so free? And why, after 46 years in exile, are some calling for their king again? If Iranians are even considering restoring their monarchy, it might be time for the West to reevaluate its own assumptions. Perhaps a king or queen resonates more deeply with us than we like to admit, even in places as staunchly Republican as America. But that is not the point of this essay. If monarchy had a resurgence, the process would be fairly clear in Europe. The royal houses are still around. Italy could just reinvite the Savoys. France would have to choose between the Bourbons, Orleanists, and Bonapartists, but the choices are still there. If Russia decided it wanted the Romanovs to return, it would be very tricky to decide which Romanov, but there are Romanovs to choose from. But what if the United States decide to choose a king or queen? Which families would be legitimate candidates to represent America and be a symbol of national unity? Let's go through some possibilities. Among the political families dominant today, the Trumps, the Obamas, the Bushes, the Clintons, half of the country would hate each. No national unity there. Going back a bit further, the Kennedys, the Roosevelts, again, too much bad blood, even if we respect them more. A political American family would be too, well, political. Maybe we can look at the culture. Perhaps if we explored the entertainment industry, Queen Taylor Swift, plenty of women would adore her, but she's a pop star. Half the country hates her for her support of Kamala Harris, and some conspiracy theorists even think her concerts are satanic. Movie industry? The only actor who I think could be respected enough because he's apolitical is Tom Cruise. But do we really want a Scientologist as our king? And does a symbol of the movie industry necessarily translate to a symbol of America? Perhaps we can explore sports. An apolitical sports star, like one of the Manning brothers? Here I think we're getting closer. But however much I cheered on Eli Manning beating Tom Brady twice, and however much I respect Peyton's own wins and his passing average, neither has any symbolic history behind him. So, ironically, I don't think an American king or queen could actually be, well, originally American. Any American figure would be too divisive and carry no historical and little symbolic weight. Next candidate, then, would be the House of Windsor. We do have many historical ties to Britain, after all, and our Constitution and law is entirely based on English law and tradition. We're also obsessed with the royal family. But the House of Windsor is essentially the House of Hanover under a new name. We rebelled against George III. Do we really want to become part of his descendants' kingdom again? I don't think so. So, are we out of luck? Not so fast. There is another house with a completely legitimate claim to a hypothetical American throne. After all, what about the Stuarts? The version of American history we're taught before the Revolution is fairly basic and really only applies to New England. The Pilgrims come on the Mayflower, the Puritans settle Massachusetts, there's the Salem witch trials, then we skip ahead 50 or 60 years to the 7 Years' War, and from there to the Revolution. But that's not the full picture. At the same time, England, Scotland, and Ireland were in the grip of violent internal conflict. Both England and Scotland were ruled by the Scottish House of Stuart. While the first English settlers were arriving in America back in the 1640s, Parliament fought a civil war against the reigning Stuart king, Charles I. They eventually executed him. A decade-long republic under Oliver Cromwell followed, but Parliament later invited Charles' son, Charles II, back to restore the monarchy. Charles II ruled without an heir, so his brother James II became king, who then alienated Parliament by embracing Catholicism. In 1688, Parliament expelled him in what became known as the Glorious Revolution, inviting his Protestant daughter Mary and her husband William of Orange to rule in his place. This effectively neutered the monarchy. From then on, kings and queens ruled by parliamentary consent. William and Mary had no heirs. Mary's sister Anne succeeded them, but she too died without surviving children. To prevent James II's Catholic descendants from reclaiming the throne, Parliament passed the Act of Settlement in 1701, which declared that only Protestant descendants of Sophia of Hanover, a granddaughter of James I, could inherit the crown. This move permanently excluded the senior Catholic line of the Stuarts, who had once ruled all three kingdoms. Not everyone was content with this situation, however, and Parliament had to ramp up propaganda to suppress any dissent. All of English history from before the English Civil War until at least the 19th century is parliamentary propaganda to quash those who support the senior Stuarts. The Stuart supporters didn't go away, though. They're called the Jacobites, and the Jacobite rebellions began. There was unrest throughout the entire next century, and two outright rebellions in 1715 and 1745. The Jacobite cause ended with their defeat at the Battle of Culloden in 1746. After the Hanovers' victory, they ruthlessly remade Scotland, the seat of Stuart support, until any resistance vanished. It's called the Highland Clearances. The Scotland we know and celebrate today is only the remains of what survived the aftermath of 1746. So, where did all the Jacobite refugees go? America. They settled mainly in the Carolinas, Appalachia, Virginia, and some of Pennsylvania. If you hear those areas have Scottish roots, or that bluegrass is a descendant of Scottish music, those original Scots were Jacobites. Their rebellious spirit helped shape the Revolutionary War. Though the male Stuart line has ended, their claim has passed through the female line to the House of Wittelsbach in Bavaria. Although they are distant cousins, they are still legitimate heirs by the same dynastic rules used across Europe. The current heir to the claim is Franz, Duke of Bavaria. His claim will pass on to Prince Luitpold of Bavaria, and from him to Prince Ludwig of Bavaria. All are respected, politically neutral aristocrats. If America was ever to create a monarchy, We could swear allegiance to the line that we were once loyal to and that many colonists backed in secret. Trump, Obama, King Charles III, too controversial. But we could invite our original monarch home. If Prince Ludwig were ever offered the crown and returned as James IV, we might not simply restore a dynasty. We might rediscover ourselves.